So honestly, the whole conversation today is going to be very long. I don't know how long the video is going to be in general, but you know, I'm a talker. I love to talk, so I'm going to get into it a lot. And I hope you guys enjoy it. This film is called 500 Days of Summer, and I think it was produced really well in my opinion because you can look at it from two different perspectives. It takes you through a breakup, and the guy tries to figure out what went wrong in the relationship that caused them to break up. So Tom is just a regular, ordinary guy who's working at a card company, and Summer walks in. He's immediately intrigued by her, and he's like, oh my goodness, who is she? And a coworker's like, oh, this is a girl that's gonna join our company today. And he was immediately infatuated by her, just looking at her, you can tell, just love at first sight. So the first clip was pretty explanatory. Tom got mesmerized because they liked the same band, and that was dangerous in itself. I honestly feel like in that moment he wasn't viewing her as a person, but more like she's perfect for me, and not even thinking if maybe she could really like him back in that way. As for the second clip, they go out for drinks, and the coworker asks Summer if she has a boyfriend, and she said she doesn't, and then she explains her reasoning. And they're very valid for her not to want one. You can't really force anyone's views because you like them. And in that moment, Tom, you can tell he was, by his face, he just seemed like, damn, she doesn't want a boyfriend, what am I gonna do now? I didn't show a clip of it, but afterwards, he kind of tries to challenge her beliefs, and he's like, well, what if you like someone a lot one day, then what would you do? You would have to be with them eventually. And she still stood her ground. She never tried to change her views for him, and I took note of that, and I thought it was really disrespectful for him to do that. They barely knew each other, and he should have respected what she wanted in life anyway. He was really forcing his ideas of the one onto her. So they go on dates and a lot of activities where Tom eventually falls deeply in love with him. And while that was out of Summer's control, there's really no way she could have contributed to his feelings to a certain extent. It's really hard to say. Eventually she did tell Tom she didn't want anything serious, and he agreed to it at first. Then Tom became really impatient and just angry in general, and he lashed out at Summer and said, no, you don't get to choose what we are, and I say we're in a relationship. And that freaked her out, and they eventually broke up. He was just devastated the whole summer. He was doing horrible at work, and his boss had to come in and talk to him because he was like, dude, what's up? And he wasn't having it anymore. Coincidentally, the pair were on the same train ride, and Summer just decided to go up to him and speak with him again. She decided to invite him to a party, and she never really made it clear what kind of party it was, a hangout. She just said, come with me and hang out with a couple friends in the city. It was just a really vague invite. And Tom being Tom, he was probably still in love with her and just immediately accepted the invite. You can tell by the smile on his face, he's like, wow, the girl I loved, we're talking again. It was probably an amazing moment for him. Now, I'm not saying when someone invites you to a party, they have to be with you 24/7, glued to your side, but Summer was really rude. She just kind of left him literally in the dust, and she was only with her friends, and she was talking with them and gossiping, and Tom was just alone on the side. So you should be I feel like Summer should have been more considerate with his feelings and just left him to have a drink by himself. So I really like the scene at the party where it said expectation versus reality, and it's just really important that we recognize how unhealthy expectations could be. I think Tom, at this point, this party is a confirmation for him, and he really accepted. There's nothing else he could do but really move on. It was a clear indication that she really didn't want anything to do with him anymore. And it kind of became clear after a while it was an engagement party. And I don't think at that moment he realized it was an engagement party, because she did end up telling him, months after that, someone proposed to me, and he's like, what the heck, I wanted to be your boyfriend, and you never cared to advance our relationship. And she was just like, Tom, I didn't love you, but I love this guy now, so things change. And Tom he was just so, I think the word would be like stoic. Like, he just, at that point, no emotions, and everything just died. Everything he had for her died at that point. And one could argue Summer was being a bitch here. She could have been like, it just didn't work out between us. She flat out told him, like, I just didn't love you, it just wasn't right for us. And it was great to give him the truth, but I think Tom really couldn't handle that hurt. And Summer was just the person she was in the movie. She's always been kind of cold, a little bit distant. So I don't think it was ever going to work out, because he was just a lovable person as it was. But was he really a lovable person if he didn't respect what she really wanted? That's something to think about. So that day forced Tom to turn his life around, and he said, you know what, I'm gonna go out and get a new job. So he did. He arrived at this interview, and they're like, please sit down and wait to be called. So he did, and then this woman walks in named Autumn. They're making small talk, but then there's that look in Tom's eyes. It's the look that's like, wow, this girl is gorgeous. And then, every time she would say, I go to this cafe, I go to this bookstore, he points out these similarities to her, and I vividly remember being annoyed with him, because I was just hoping he wouldn't start that cycle all over again. The way he did with Summer, forcing her into a relationship and trying to make her do something she really didn't want to, when he should have just respected how she felt and left her alone from the get-go. And yeah, of course, he vented to his friends, he let his emotions out, but he never processed it, what it meant to, actually find someone who wanted the same thing as him, the same type of relationship. And he was trying to chase it after someone who was emotionally unavailable at the time, or just wasn't even that into him. And we'll actually never know if the cycle began again, because this was a cliffhanger. The movie ended, and I was just kind of upset because there's no part 2. Now, analyzing the entire movie, like I said in the beginning, you can either side with Tom or Summer. And I think a lot of people can agree the real villain is Tom. So, yes, of course, he did get hurt after the breakup. He got depressed, and he stopped going to work, and he would even go out in his pajamas throughout the city, and he felt like his life was so terrible up to that point. But you can also argue he didn't have to feel that way. If he instantly met Summer and she said the same thing as she always said, I don't want a boyfriend, I don't want to be held down by anybody, he could have said, okay, and that's not for me, and they could have continued to be friends at the car company, and everything would have been okay. But he tried to force everything onto her, and that's where the problems began. Like, you can say Summer could partially contribute to it, but there's nothing she could do to control his feelings. She said she wanted something casual, and then he agreed in the beginning, and then it changed. And then as a woman, she was like frightened when he yelled at her. And obviously the villain is Tom. So you guys should check out this movie for yourselves if you haven't. It's great. 10 stars for real. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. When I saw this title, I was sitting in the airplane trying to choose a movie for the next 3 hours of my life. And what really caught my eye was the iconic cover. The beautiful yellow dress that Kate Hudson was wearing. And literally everybody talks about it on the internet, and I don't blame them. It's gorgeous, honestly. So it takes you to a girl named Andy Anderson who works for a magazine, and recently her friend had been dumped by a guy, and I guess Andy was like, so what happened? She was like, I don't know, like I was giving him attention, blah blah blah. And then Andy just knew what to do. She was working for a magazine and she pitched the idea, why don't I write, a section of how to lose a guy in 10 days? Like, do all the wrong things that women do that can drive a man away. Now, the task that her boss gave her was, 10 days, obviously. Go out to a bar, find a guy, and make it happen. If not, she can't make the cover or whatever. And at the same time, the guy she was going to approach was also making that exact deal, but kind of opposite. It was make a woman fall in love, just, And he also works for a magazine company, I think, but it's sports related, I'm pretty sure. So Ben coincidentally has his eyes set on Andy, and she has her bet set on him. So they both have, it's like that trope with, I have a bet set on you and you even know, and you know what ends up happening later on. So Andy is actually having fun with this, and she's discussing with her friends, like, what funny things am I going to do to really make him run away? Like, what's going to bother him? So the first thing she does is she knows he's into sports. So she's like, look, I got his tickets to the Knicks. And he's obviously very excited being a sports fan. But throughout the entire scene, she keeps complaining that she ran out of soda. And every time there was like a player who scored, she would like whine and ask him, oh my god, can you please refill my soda? So he would miss the good parts, and he was just pissed at that point. He was really fed up. And Andy, of course, continuing the bet, was laughing. And she even liked basketball herself, so she was enjoying the entire game at that point. Now this next one, she had told him she liked lobsters, and then when she got to the restaurant, I don't know exactly what happened. I think she just said she felt bad for the lobsters, like, I don't know. It was just something about the whole scene, and she just started crying, And I guess that was one of the things that she wanted to point out in the magazine, like, when you act very emotional and you cry, he's gonna be repulsed by that. Now, this isn't a scene where, she continues her antics by trying to drive him away. He actually invites her to his family's home back in, like, another city or something, and they have a good time. Like, I think they both forget in that moment they're doing the bet, and they, start to develop feelings for each other. And by the way, Kate Hudson was gorgeous in the scene. Like, that white top is beautiful, even though it's basic as hell. It looks really nice. And I think once Andy got to meet his parents, she's like, damn, this is becoming really real, meeting his parents, and she was thinking it's all a bet. But was Ben still playing the game by trying to make her fall in love and, make her meet his parents? Like, I never caught that, honestly. So continuing on the needy act, she began to put her feminine products in his bathroom. She brought a plant over and she started to play her girly CDs. And obviously he was just upset, and he was like repulsed. Like, I barely knew this girl not even a week, and she's already like kind of moving in with me. Like, she put her toothbrush there, and she even brought a dog, and she said, oh look, this is our dog now. And of course, him playing along with his bet, he had to endure all of it. So you can tell it was just stressful for him. So at the end, there's a big dinner party for all the magazine companies. And at this dinner party, this is where they both realize they've been betting on each other. This ultimately, tears them apart and they have a fallout. And this is the scene where she was wearing that yellow dress. And I'm gonna be honest, I really thought they wouldn't get mad at each other for finding out the other was betting, because it's like you were doing it to each other. So it was just weird to me, but that's how the movie played out. And anyway, for some reason Andy had to leave New York and literally pack all her bags. Somehow Ben found out. I don't remember how, but he hopped on his motorcycle and he went after her, because I think during that night he was realizing, like, damn, I actually like her, I was betting on her, but all this time I've been spending with this girl, even, the 10 days, he started to develop feelings for her. So he stopped the cab and he was admitting how he felt, and it was a really beautiful moment. So it was a happy ending, and that is what makes a rom-com a rom-com. Like, both characters get what they want in the end, they both say how they feel, and everything's romantic, and it's the most perfect rom-com. Chef's